Hey, Personal Magnetism, episode 4. Who we got in the house? We've got David Wise. We've got Melinda. Hi, Melinda. How are you? Great to see you. We've got Grant. We've got Caroline Day. We've got Tom. We got Johannes. Liz Lloyd. Haven't seen you for a long time either. Bringing all the old people back. John. Huna bro. He's here too. This is great stuff. Roseanne, um, Claire Wells. Haven't seen you for a long time either. We got some Phil Atkinson. I've started doing the tapes. We're doing the legacy program. Uh, the rest of you will hear Pavinda. Martin. Hi, Martin. How are you? Elmer. I haven't seen you, Elmer, for a long time. Good to see you, bro. Linda, Donna Baker, Huna sister, um, Lynn, Lynn Halliwell is there. Liz Oliver, Liz, haven't seen you for a while either. Linda Weatherly, still not on the sofa. I liked it when you were on the sofa, Linda. I mean, I really did. Frank out in uh, Florida, Charles Barnasconi, yet again. Charles, we're gonna have to meet up because we're neighbours now. We got Norman. Is that the video's not on, so I don't know if that's Norman that I know from Huna or not. Hind. Um, who's this one? Florian. Hmm. Florian, I think. Hi, Florian. Thanks for joining us. Alex, good to see you. We got here Giselle, Stephanie Harrison. So pleased your books are going well. Thank you for sending me the copies of them. We got Nicola, got Tom. Seems to be walking around somewhere, still sorting out the trees. I bet you're busy. Roger, great to see you. Who we got here? We got Sarah. Sarah Sparks again. How's stuff on your boat? I'd love to live on it. I'd love to have a boat so I could go disappear off every now and again. And we got the wording is so small. George Blue. I have no idea what that is, but there we go. Who's this person here? Doesn't say any name whatsoever. And Paul Brucker out in Chicago. Hi, Paul. How you doing? So here we are, episode 4 of Personal Magnetism, and this is interesting. Just to give you the perspective on this, what I'm doing is we've got these live. You join in live. I, we put it up. We give you the replays, and on on YouTube, what I do with our David Shepherd real life NLP and Huna. I put it up, but I put it up a week behind. So you get to see it live, you get it live, and then YouTube gets it a week later. So they're currently on episode 2. They will get episode 3 tomorrow. It's the most watched video that I put up on YouTube. So obviously, personal magnetism is of great interest. So thank you for joining us. So episode 4 or chapter 4. I'll just look it up in the book. The physical phase. Here's the physical book, which I actually find the most a very interesting chapter. And one of the things that Theron Q Dumont mentions in this chapter, those of you familiar with Huna will have already probably worked out the connections, but he mentions nature's finer forces, which triggered something for me. Let me put this book down over here. I know lots of you love books. Nature's finer forces. It just triggered something in me. It's triggered up a memory from a long time ago that my friend and mentor Tad spoke about in 1993, which was a book by Rama Prasad called Nature's Finer Forces. I think that was a embedded suggestion, if you like, embedded command by Theron Q Dumont. And this is all about the breath, breathing. And that just arrived literally a couple of minutes ago. So Theron Q Dumont's talking about what he calls nerve force. I'm going to come back to this because he did mention this too. Theron Q Dumont refers to nerve force. Oops. Which in Huna would be called mana, which in other languages would be called chi, as in Tai Chi, Ki, as in Qi Gong, prana, as in the book I've just mentioned, Nature's Finer Forces, and Ki, as in Qigong, whatever. And what we would call, what Theron Q Dumont's calling, is charisma, personal magnetism, or what we might call vitality. So these are things we're talking about here with what Theron Q Dumont calls the physical force. Now, you are still here. I'm just going to say something straight off the cuff. We had 10% of our viewership for this particular masterclass cancel and remove themselves from our database from this particular episode for one reason and one reason only. Because I talked about Donald Trump. I didn't talk about Donald Trump as being, that I was in favor of him or anything. I'm pretty apolitical. The reason I mentioned it was purely in the context of personal magnetism. And that's the effect that it had. Now, interestingly, I just watch politics. I don't play in politics. I don't know anything of those kind of things. I watch politics, and I don't know what you saw recently. Just I don't think it was like last week, where Jill Biden or Biden was called out by Donald Trump at Notre Dame for giving him loving looks. Why could that be? Personal magnetism. Now, if you're not happy with mentioning that, please go now. Please disappear off our database. I will talk about politics, not from a political point of view, but I will talk about politics from what certain politicians are using. If you don't like that, please go away. Because that's not what I'm about. I'm talking about, why do people use this kind of stuff? Because it works, which is the very reason why, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to do the same things. Now, what Theron Q Dumont talks about in this chapter is about increasing nerve force. Many other names here for that. And he alludes to the secret being in the breath. Now, this is where Huna comes into the equation, which is with the ha breath. My pen's disappeared. Let's do in green, ha breath. And many of you have learnt this with me from before, which is where the out breath is at least twice as long as the in breath. And a ha breath, a single ha breath would be like this. Another one. And it's diaphragmatic breathing. This is what Theron Q Dumont is talking about with the link between breath and nerve force. This is how we increase our nerve force. Now, if we go back a couple of sessions, we're going to come back to this one. In fact, it was episode number 1. This is how we increase the potential of our nerve force, of our prana, of our personal magnetism, all of those kind of things. Now, he talks about the nervous system not being physically contained in the physical body, which I totally agree with. The physical body is, I think I did actually talk about this, the nervous system is, can't find it out. Our physical nervous system is the antenna. Our nerve force is the what we transmit, What we have in the mental phase, which we talked about last week, is the signal, is the data, the communication that we have. So what we want to do is to do all of these three things together. Now, heart breathing will enable you to increase more mana, more nerve force, as Theron Q Dumont talks about. Now, we've got, and he uses the analogy of our nervous system being like wires, like being cables. So how do we nurture our nervous system to literally be able to contain and transmit more nerve force, which is obviously where we're building up in later sessions? The answer to that question is heavy weightlifting. One, heart breathing. Second, heavy weightlifting. Because when we do heavy weightlifting, we contract a muscle. We contract a muscle by nerve force. The more weight we can lift through heavy weightlifting, the more we are conditioning our nervous system to be able to take higher potential nerve force. So this is the things about the physical: heart breathing, heavy weightlifting. Then this is probably something we're going to get onto in future sessions, would be what Theron Q Dumont talks about in this chapter is about being able to transmit, or what he talks about. I can find the flip chart now. Induce that energy into somebody else's field. And when we start talking about electromagnetic transmission, we're talking about somebody coming into our physical proximity, if you want, from a better word. And equally, what we can do is, with our personal magnetism, we can affect somebody on the other side of the planet. Because the level of electromagnetics, the level of induction, time and space do not exist. So, I was just doing a call this morning. We did, Sally and I did one call this morning with Australia, which went really well. Did we use personal magnetism on that call, even though it was virtual? Yes. I then did a Q&A for our practitioner training, which is in Tokyo, in Japan. Did I use personal magnetism on that call, even though we're many thousands of miles away? Yes, absolutely I did. So this is what we're building up to, but we've got to get these foundation blocks in place. So that's pretty much the content for chapter 4, physical phase. Sally, do we have any questions?
Not at the moment. Give everybody a few minutes to digest. I'm sure there will be some.
I saw that a lot of people left as a result of me talking about Donald Trump again.
No, they didn't.
No, I saw less faces. Maybe they've just gone to dark mode. We did have some people though leave as the group as a result of that, which is an indication of.
So does anybody have any questions on this segment? Just pop them in the chat. Okay, Paul Brock has got a question for you, David.
Paul. Great to see you, Guy.
Now you can hear me too. I thought
And I
I
can
just
hear you, yeah.
okay, all right. I can hear you, and I wish I didn't. But anyway, what if you're physically impaired and can no longer do the heavy lifting of the youth?
Um, the whole thing around heavy weightlifting is that you are consistently challenging your neurology. Um, you know, I'm still well, you've probably seen some of the posts on my wall where I was doing heavy weightlifting with professional bodybuilders. Um, I'm probably not up to that these days. Um, and I do use my TRX, which is like body weight resistance exercises. Then you've also, I get bombarded all the time with the kind of like the, for want of a better word, the granddad chair workouts. So I think any kind of resistance exercise, whether it's with weights or whether it's with body weight, um, cultures, nurtures your neurology to be able to transmit more nerve force. Yeah, so it doesn't need to be heavy weights. I probably was a little bit too specific there. That's my favorite personally. I haven't done it for a while because I've had a number of health challenges, um, and I've still managed to do body weight resistance exercises, which challenges your muscles, which is obviously what those are designed for from a traditional point of view, and from our perspective, personal magnetism point of view, also cultures and nurtures and grows your neurology to be able to transmit not necessarily greater frequency, but greater amplitude of nerve force. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Yeah, I don't want to go into specifics about my story, but in a very general way, yes, that answers it. Thank you.
Yeah. So anything that challenges your muscles, anything that challenges your neurology will have the same impact.
Alex Harrow's got a question for you.
Alex.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can do. Yes, Alex.
Excellent. I was wondering about the do the muscles hold the nervous system, or the nervous system hold the muscles?
The nervous system runs the muscles. So, if I go to contract my bicep like I'm doing now, the amount that I can contract my bicep is due to the amount of what Theron Q Dumont would say is nerve force. So when you train your muscles to do more, whether it be weightlifting, lifting weights, whether it be body weight exercises like TRX or any of the things like the armchair, the chair workout or press ups or anything like that, all of that requires your muscles to do more and also conditions your nervous system to be able to carry more amplitude.
And when you say more amplitude, what does that mean?
Overall, more power.
Right, yeah.
So power from an electronics point of view, is related to the voltage and the amps. When you do those kind of exercises, you actually increase the amount of amplitude. If we think like, Theron Q Dumont in chapter 4 talks about the nervous system being like wires, cables, etc. Then what doing those kind of exercises do is that your nervous system will actually change. It will physically change to be able to carry more amplitude, more amps, not necessarily voltage, but more amps. It's amps, which is the most important thing from a personal magnetism point of view.
And if that is the case, then do the emotions grow at the same frequency as the muscles at the same time?
That's a really good question, Alex. You ask such fantastic questions, Alex. If you think about your nervous system as being an antenna, a transmitter, which also people therefore receive. If a person had negative emotions like anger, sadness, fear, guilt, etc., and they were to increase their mana, their personal magnetism, and also increase the antenna, as in their nervous system, then they would become significantly more effective at transmitting their emotions to other people, which is, one of the things with our Huna trainings. Our Huna trainings enable people to increase their energy massively. You don't need to have studied NLP to do our Huna trainings. And I recommend people to do NLP training before they do Huna. Though it's not a requirement. And the reason for that is because Huna enables you to dramatically increase your mana, and also dramatically increases your ability to manifest your thoughts into reality. NLP is great at getting your thoughts sorted out, because if your thinking is chaotic and you do Huna and you increase your mana, then what you do is you increase your ability to create chaos in your life. And I've seen that so many times over the 30 or so years I've been teaching Huna, particularly with people that did Huna but didn't do NLP. So does that answer your question, Alex?
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Alex. You have such great questions. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, Caroline Day is up next.
Caroline.
Hello, David. I've got a funny voice tonight.
You've got a funny voice.
I've got a funny voice, a bit of a virus. I need to do my personal magnetism or getting rid of it.
Okay.
Now, I have a question about inducing higher nerve force or magnetism in another person. Based on all learning is state dependent. And if the person doesn't maintain the state, then they don't get return. If you do induce a higher state in another person, and then they go away, do they sustain it? Or
no, not. Sorry, carry on, Caroline.
Or if So if it drops down, is it the same thing as all learning is state dependent?
Yeah, all learning is state dependent is definitely the way the unconscious mind works. Yeah. When somebody is with you and they're in your personal magnetism field, you will induce that state in them, as long as it's okay with them for that. I mean, this came up in my Q&A session I did with the people who are doing practitioner training out in Tokyo in January, is that if it's not okay with that person's unconscious mind to maintain that, equally, if it's not okay with that person's unconscious mind to have that induction in the moment, it won't work. So, you know, it's got to be okay with somebody's unconscious mind for them to, well, it's got to be okay with that person's unconscious mind for them to feel okay, feel good, feel empowered. I was doing a session the other day, and I remembered somebody saying to me, actually, it was at the weekend when we were running a training in Nottingham. Somebody on a training said to me, I know what you're trying to do. You are trying to empower me. I just responded, I said, well, I wouldn't try to do anything because trying presupposes failure. And for what purpose would you not want to be empowered? But this person obviously didn't want to be. I mean, downside of empowerment, downside to everything that we teach, performance partnership, everything I teach, is you don't get to use excuses or reasons anymore. Now, some people love their excuses and reasons. So if it's going to work in any way, shape, or form with anything that we do, then they've got to be okay with letting go of the excuses and reasons. Does that answer your question, Caroline?
So do you need to be aware of not overpowering the person with your enthusiasm or nerve force or whatever you call it?
Well, you know, then we step out of the world of Theron Q Dumont and a rather esoteric subject, which is what we're talking about. In that with NLP, and this is something we were talking about this weekend, again, we've got pace, 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 lead. And I think that a lot of people go for the lead too fast and they haven't paced enough, which literally blows the person up, breaks the rapport, and everything's over. So it's a matter of like meeting the person where they are now. Here's an example. Let's say that I'm working with a client who's doing the symptoms of depression. So they're very down, they don't tend to make eye contact with you. Physiologically, they've got that physiology. And I come in and go like, hey, everything will be okay. You're going to break rapport. Because in their model of the world, everything's not okay. So you've got to meet them in the state of depression and then lead them out of it, which then becomes really important that you remember what your outcome is. Otherwise, when you go to meet them in depression, you could equally wind up going like, oh, you think your life's bad. You want to hear about mine. So that's an important thing. Pace, 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 lead.
Thank you very much.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Put a 1 in the chat box if that made sense as to what I just talked about with Caroline.
Lots of
It's
ones
important.
coming in.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Any other questions, Sally?
You have a question from Roseanne.
Roseanne, what's your question?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Roseanne. Yep.
Okay. My question was, oh, sorry, I'm not visible. My question was, is tachyon energy the same thing as prana, ki, and chi, and so forth?
Okay. Yes, my model of the world. I'm not saying that my model of the world's right in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to find out what there we go. In my model of the world, these are all the same thing. They've just got different names depending whereabouts in the world you are living, what language you speak. So, making it really simple, which is something that we do on our Presenting Magically and our trainers training and our new training that we've got this weekend, which is Physiology of Charisma. Let me explain how that came about. So I've known about mana for a long time and known about heart breathing for a long time. Well, what is it? 31 years now when I first learnt it from my mentor and friend Tad James. So heart breathing totally transformed my experience of my own personal energy, my own personal mana. That came from Huna. Then in the 90s, for the very first time, it's got a for the very first time, I had back pain, lower back pain. And I'd never had it before. So a student of mine who's now a very good friend of mine, Alistair, he was coming out to do trainers training with me and Tad in California. And so he said, I want to assist coach on your practitioner training before I come out and do trainers training. Now, Alistair's a recuperative physiotherapist. He learned that trade, skill, whatever you want, when he was with the British Army. So the first day I said to Alistair, you've got to help me. I've got back pain. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not surprised. He'd forgotten the feedback sandwich. And he said, do you mind if I just rearrange your body a little bit? And he did. He realigned me physiologically and my back pain disappeared in an instant. Equally, the submodalities of the room changed in an instant. And I felt the bones in my skull rearrange in an instant. It was a very strange experience. So he taught me some exercises to permanently change my physiology. and then he came out to do training. And he was staying in the same hotel where the training was, where I was staying, and I was going down to the gym. I was on the treadmill, and he came up to me and he said, "Mate, either I've got to work with you on your physiology of running, or you've got to tell me when you go to the gym, because I want to be in the gym at a different time than you, because watching the way you run is painful for me." So I said, okay, well, yeah, let's work on my running. And he said, okay, well, meet me out the back of the hotel at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, which I don't get offers like that very often, you know. So 7 o'clock the next morning, me and Alice were out the back of the thing. And he said, run up and down. And I did. And he said, okay, let's forget running. Let's start with walking. And he completely rewired my way of moving. To the point where the next day, when I went on the treadmill, I could run at 2 miles an hour faster for 15 minutes longer. I wasn't fitter. I wasn't anything like that. My kinetic energy, my kinetic power was more driven. So I came back to London. I ran a master practitioner training. A lot of people had done practitioner with me. And they said, oh, wow, David, you've lost a lot of weight. You're taller. You are doing more magic than you usually do. That's not possible, by the way. But that was what people's experience was. And I thought, well, what changed? And the thing that changed was Alistair's work on me around my physiology, which when Alistair, we were running a trainer's training in, I think, 2002. And I asked Alistair to join us on the main stage to teach what we have now labeled or branded as the physiology of charisma. So there's more to charisma than just the manner or just the energy. It relates to our entire physiology. And, you know, Alistair had a great take on this. He said, on practitioner training, I heard that 55% of the meaning of communication was in your physiology. And then we don't talk about physiology after that. Well, we do. We changed all of that. So, yes, it's the whole thing. It's not just about increasing your mana. It's about your entire physiology. Does that answer your question, Rosanna?
You're muted, Roseanne.
Sorry. No, it doesn't answer my question, because I asked about tachyon energy. I don't know if you have ever heard of it. But,
yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, and is that the same as mana and ki and chi and
yes,
that whole list you have there? Okay, it's the same.
Yeah, I would say it is.
Okay. Loved your story, by the way.
It took me a lot longer to answer the question than I thought it would do, other than the saying yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up is Sarah Spark.
Sarah, how's that boat of yours?
I didn't know. Oh, I've got two now, David.
You've got two.
I live on one permanently, and I have another little one.
Oh, you got two boats. I thought you said you got two questions. Okay. Okay.
No. I don't even think I have a question, actually. So I don't know how I've been chosen. So, but anyway, maybe it was just tell you about my boats.
Oh, right.
Who knows?
Two boats.
Apologies. So maybe it was about Donald Trump and his fitness. I don't think of him as a lean machine. But he still has charisma.
Yes, he does. He definitely has charisma. He definitely has personal magnetism. Does he look fit? No. I mean, there's a couple of things. You know, he doesn't drink alcohol, but he does drink full fat Coca-Cola and eats McDonald's. And he still seems to manage his physical energy. And obviously, I think he does have the mental phase that we talked about last week. If he were to get, I mean, he plays golf a lot, so you know, golf requires quite a bit of stamina. Stamina is related to this. If he were to get lean and fit and strong, boy, we would definitely have a something to deal with, I think.
Right. So what I think you're saying is you can have this personal magnetism without being lean, but if you had it, it would augment what you have.
Yes. And my thing is around sustainability. Again, this has got nothing to do with politics. But if you look at the physicality of, even though their ages are very similar, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, physically, Donald Trump seems to be in a better physical condition than Joe Biden. You know, and everybody goes through their own personal things in life. I know I have as well, just recently around my physical well-being. And what we really want to look at is how do we have both? Because both are under our control.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, and I think, you know, there are people which we talked about who have natural personal magnetism, natural charisma. I think Donald Trump is an example of that. I'm not. So, you know, it was Theron Q Dumont's book, which I was introduced to in 1993, Personal Magnetism, and then the advanced course in personal magnetism that enabled me to increase my personal magnetism. I didn't have it naturally, which I think is the important thing really about, you know, NLP, is there are naturals of all manner of human facets. But if you're not born with them, what do you do? I mean, you know, I was on a call to Tokyo this morning where where we just set up the Performance Partnership Worldwide Japan. And, you know, and Sally was there, so she'll attest to this. I was not a natural born entrepreneur, not a natural born salesperson, not a natural born speaker, not a natural born presenter, not a natural born trainer. And it was the study of things like Theron Q Dumont's personal magnetism. It was the study of NLP that enabled me to do that. And now, you know, 30 years later, it appears like I'm a natural. Well, to be honest with you, if you practice something for 30 years and you're crap at it, you should probably think about doing something else. But it, you know, that's what I love about this stuff, and why I love sharing it with people that are interested in it. Sarah, does that answer your
Thank you.
question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Enjoy your boats.
Okay, Charles, you're up.
Charles, bro, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, David. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. The first one is to do with just a very practical question, which is how long would it how long would it be useful to do heart breathing per day? So if you did a heart breathing session or 2 or 3 per day, what from your experience, what's a sensible kind of duration and frequency for that?
Yeah, great question, Charles. So 7 minutes first thing in the morning. And then if you wanted to add to that, 7 minutes just before you went to bed. It might sound a bit counterintuitive, but heart breathing creates a very calm, balanced, and centered energy. So, heart breathing before you go to bed calms you down, centers you, relaxes you, and gives your unconscious mind energy to do what it does whilst you're asleep, which is to heal your body. Then, no matter how much about NLP, hypnosis, dominant therapy, Huna, you still get to wake up some mornings with what I call a heavy gravity day, which is where you don't have the kind of energy you need or want to be able to carry you through the day. So the thing about heart breathing is it's portable. So, I'll wind the window down in the car and heart breathe the entire 30 minutes of the journey into Nottingham, where we're on our events now. Even though I might have woke up with oh, do I really want to do this? When I arrive at the venue, I'm kind of like, whoa, okay, here we go. I'm energized. I'm like, whatever. And I can then transmit that energy to the group. So, but equally, you can heart breathe whilst you're weight training. You can heart breathe whilst you're running. You can heart breathe whilst you're walking. As I say, it's portable. And it's great for you. And it's free.
Well, thank you. So the next question, which is related, is what would be the symptoms of if a person's exhibiting low nerve force?
Yeah.
What sort of experiences would they have? What symptoms would they experience? What symptoms would they show?
This is why I love these sessions, because I get asked questions that I've never asked myself. So excuse me for pausing for a second. The symptoms of having generally low nerve force would be not really having a great overall sense of well-being. That might be labeled as emotional things like depression or those kind of things. Procrastination. The kind of thing like, do I really want to get out of bed today, or do I really want to do anything other than watch the TV? Whereas when you've got a good amount of nerve force, and we're talking about the physical thing about nerve force. I think the important thing is that people also have. It's important that people have a purpose for living. It's a disturbing fact, but it's undeniable that all of the pension funds around the planet are based on that they're only going to have to pay out for 3 years. because when people tend to get, and we were indoctrinated around it, people tend to live to work. And then they go, and wouldn't it be fantastic when I don't have to work anymore? I've got my house is paid for, and I don't have to do anything and just claim my pension. And the majority of people, the vast majority of people only live 3 years because they've got no reason for living anymore. Which is another reason why, I teach what I teach, as in, we've all got a purpose, and we've all got something to be here for as long as we're here for. But those are the kind of things that people would experience when they had low vitality or low mana. And, this was the thing, really, Charles, that I know you already know this, is that when I decided to become a professional speaker, trainer, presenter, I didn't get to have a bad day anymore. So I didn't get to have it wasn't acceptable for my clients for me to have a heavy gravity day. When people have paid a lot of money for me to show up at an event, I can't show up and go like, I'm sorry, but I didn't get much sleep last night. I'm feeling really tired. Do you mind if we take it easy? They're going to turn around and go like, no, Shepherd, get yourself fucking sorted out. You're teaching this stuff. So I had to go on to the core side of the equation as far as my matter was concerned. And the big thing for that, which is why this chapter of Theron Q Dumont's Personal Magnetism really, I think, is one of the most important, is you can't channel your energy mental phase we talked about last week, if you haven't got it physically. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Charles.
Oh, it's very helpful. Thank you, David, as usual.
Cheers, mate.
Norman's got a question for you, David.
Okay, Norman.
Can you hear me? I know you can't see me because I can't figure out how to get my.
Norman, you're really quiet.
I'm really quiet.
Is there a way you can turn your volume up?
How about now?
No, it didn't make any difference.
I don't know how to fix my sound going to you.
Okay, well, I've come closer to my computer so I can hear it.
I
So
was just at, my question is, as a Huna practitioner, have you ever used head law number 17 when you exercise to lengthen the breath and to calm it and to smooth it out? And if yes, what has been the result of it?
okay, so your question was, I didn't quite get the beginning of the question. Have I used something you referred to?
Head law, head law number 17. One of the Opuas,
Okay.
which is number 17, head law that smooths out the breath and lengthens the breath during the exercise, and what has been your experience?
I haven't specifically, though. So for the people here that aren't familiar with Opua, Norman is one of my Huna students who used to train with me out in Hawaii. And we have a number of Opua which channel energy. And there are certain Opua which open up the breathing, open up the energy, and also the energy of the breath. I haven't used them specifically, Norman. I've used them all in certain situations, more with other people that were in respiratory distress than I've used for myself around my breathing. I've never really had any problems with my breathing until 2020 when I got COVID, and then I had really serious respiratory problems. And to be honest with you, Norman, I can't really remember what I used because I used everything. The thing that I got was, just to put it into perspective, I was measuring my O2 saturation, and it went to 70%. For those of you who don't know about O2 saturation, it's meant to be around about somewhere between 97 and 100. Mine went to 70%, and my unconscious mind said, if you go to hospital, you won't be coming out. So I went through 2 weeks of that with the support of what we had over here: day nurse, night nurse, NLP, Huna, hypnosis, etc., and got through it. And then I threw everything at it. I'm also remembering when one of our cats had respiratory problems, and the vet basically said, you need to put the cat down, and we didn't want to. And using the Opua, I can't remember which Opua I use now specifically, we managed to extend his life by 6 months. And he did pass away finally at home, didn't need to be put down. The vet ridiculed us, saying we were using Huna. And then when he saw the results, because the cat lived for 6 months, where he said, you've got to put him down now, the vet said, okay, even after he'd ridiculed us, what's this Huna thing? So I can't remember specifically about that particular Opua number 17, Norman, but I've not had any direct personal experience with that.
Okay. I was just curious because I have used it and my breathing has extended. I've used the Opua for, like you did, for breathing problems, and it has improved it. So
Right.
I just wonder if you have used it for exercise. Like that answered my question.
Okay. What's the name of Opua number 17, just for the...
Keahe loa.
Sorry?
Keahe loa.
Keahe loa. Okay. Yeah, that would particularly be useful if somebody had fluid or congestion in the lungs. Keahe loa would actually assist in drying up the fluid and the congestion in the lungs. which therefore could assist somebody in improving their breathing.
Okay. Thank you.
Great to speak to you, by the way, Norman. I've missed you.
I have missed, unfortunately, I haven't been able to make it back to Huna the last couple of years. I'm planning
Okay.
on returning.
Cool. I am not there anymore, but that's another story.
Oh, okay.
Okay, David. So the final question, I think, is from Linda
Linda, which Linda?
Weatherly.
On the sofa or not? Linda, you're up.
Linda, you're on mute.
Linda, turn your microphone on. Sally, can you actually unmute Linda for her?
For some reason, she's not coming on my list of participants. So, okay. So the question was around sport. Does doing sports give you the same as doing heavy weights? So somebody mentioned swimming, but doing sports in general.
Okay. The key thing is around resistance exercising rather than cardiovascular. Now, swimming is both. Swimming is both resistance and cardiovascular. Walking, running, etc., is not resistance. So there are exercises that you can do that do both, and swimming is a great example of that, of both resistance and cardiovascular. There are other things that are purely cardiovascular. From a personal magnetism point of view and building your nervous system point of view, resistance exercise is king. And I'm sure that's
So Linda mentioned that she was thinking specifically about riding.
Riding doesn't really give you resistance. I can see it will give you cardiovascular, but it doesn't really give you resistance.
Are there any other questions or comments that anybody would like to ask?
I think that endurance training also is good for expanding the nervous system. Is that correct?
Depends what you mean by endurance. Certainly, what is it called? High intensity interval training. Great for the nervous system, for building the nervous system. Endurance could mean, okay, I can run a marathon or I can run whatever. That's not doesn't necessarily nurture or culture or develop the nervous system. I'm not saying it's not challenging, because obviously it is. But it's challenging in a different way than something like high intensity interval training is. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all the questions for this evening.
Wow. Okay. Great stuff. Was that use? Just put a 1 in the chat if that was useful.
If you're joining us on Saturday for Achieve 2025, we look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. Put a 1 in the chat if you're joining us for Achieve 2025.
Put a 2 in the chat, David, otherwise
Put a
I'll get
2.
confused.
Okay, sorry. Put a 2 in the chat if you're joining us for Achieve 2025.
Will it be recorded, the Saturday event?
No, it's not going to be, Giselle.
Right. I do a yoga on a Saturday morning, and I might only get half of it. Okay, thank you.
Come for half of it then.
Yes, I can do that.
Half of it is better than none of it.
Perfect. Thank you. I do actually have one quick question. Would you say, would you say when you're talking about hip training and resistance, what about yoga where you're holding the postures, Iyengar yoga? Or are you saying that when you exercise, when you release endorphins, it makes a difference because of that aspect?
From the perspective of personal magnetism, what we're looking at is developing the nervous system to be able to literally contain and transmit more nerve force. So
after 6, I want 4. How's it going? I want to get better at it. Well done. You're a good start. Here, C, minus D, and followed by 2 and 2. Yes, sir. Kiara's getting ahead with the intricate round steam dish.
So I'm just typing on my carrot puree and the lavender.
She'll have to work fast,
There's quite a few they want to plate up as well.
or she'll be in danger of holding up service.
Each dish has 50
The iPhone.
and it has to be perfectly placed. It's not.
there's a lot of audio coming through, which I don't know what it is. So somebody might have their microphone unmuted.
Is anybody watching MasterChef?
I don't know. So the thing is that the physical body is adaptive. So if you ask your physical body to do more than it's used to, your body will adapt to those challenges. So you were talking there about yoga postures, holding yoga postures. Is that challenging for the physical body? Well, it is, because the body's not used to that. So will that cause the development of neurological connections, and therefore the body's ability to transmit and carry more nerve force. Yes.
Thank you.
Sally, anything else going on?
No, I'm just getting requests for the link for Saturday, so
Okay, great.
I'm just doing that. So, yep. So no more questions.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for those people who'll be watching the recording, which I will get sorted out tomorrow morning. And then for those of you who can be physically achieve 2025, great. For those that you be here virtually, great. It's going to be a fantastic event. The thing I'm going to be talking about on Achieve 2025 not only is like you're doing your own personal review of 2024 and what worked and what didn't work and what you learned from it, is very much about how you can achieve, how you can thrive in times of uncertainty. And, you know, I talked about this before with when we were going through Brexit, obviously when we went through COVID. And, you know, as we go into 2025, I believe a lot of people are experiencing, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in 2025. So I have uncertainty for it. Does that stop me setting goals? Does it stop me taking action? The answer to that question is no. I will achieve the goals regardless of what government's in power, regardless of what goes on elsewhere in the world, regardless of what goes on here in the UK. My goals are personal and I will achieve those regardless of what anybody else attempts to do that might appear to throw things in the way. So that's going to be the theme for Achieve 2025. And I think that's relevant for wherever you are in the world. There's an increasing amount of uncertainty. And what a lot of people are doing because of that increasing amount of uncertainty is they're doing nothing. And that's a guaranteed way of not achieving your goals. So how do you fix your mindset so you can set goals, you can take action, even in these times of increasing uncertainty? That's what Saturday Achieve 2025 is all about. I can see some people waving. Bye. See you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Very good as usual.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex.
It was wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, David.
Thank
you very much.
much.
Very much. Sally, could you please send I couldn't copy it, the link.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a copy from the
who's
chat.
asking me for that?
It's Mabel.
Mabel, yep, I'll get you a link.
And also, Giselle, if you could, one can't copy it from the chat. It doesn't copy over.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
I will get you one too.
Thank
Oh,
you
and
very
so,
much.
Sally, also Georgian, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all right. Great
Good to see you
stuff.
both. Good to see you,
Good to have
David.
your whole database.
What? Yeah. Thank you.
That's okay. Pleasure. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Long
Thanks a
time.
lot. Have a good evening. But it's this very Saturday, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Saturday, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. UK time, which is we're currently on GMT, which is UTC.
Okay. Befestig. Opslaan. Okay, that's good.
We will see you all soon.
We'll see you all soon.
See you then. Have a good evening.
Charles,
Bye-bye.
Charles,
Bye.
you're looking confused.
Nobody's got living.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly.
On mute.
Charles, you need to
Yeah, sorry
unmute.
about that. I just realised that I was on. I just put the Achieve 25. I've just submitted to join on the Achieve 25 for Saturday. So
All right. Okay. Brilliant.
fantastic. Yeah, good. Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
I gather you're based in Nottingham. We should, as you suggested, we should arrange to get together at some point.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you, mate?
I live in Claypole, which is near Newark. So
Oh.
we're east of you if you're in Nottingham. Whereabouts in Nottingham are you based?
Ravenshead.
Oh, right. Okay, fantastic. Yeah.
So you're very close.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I grew up as you know, I grew up in Mansfield, so it's just not far from Ravenshead at
There
all.
we go. Oh, so I'm 4 or 5 miles away from my old house, old home in Mansfield.
Okay, fantastic. So if I just send you an email,
Yeah.
to your performance partnership email address,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Let's get together. Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, I look forward to that.
All right, mate.
Thanks,
We
Steve.
shall see you soon.
Yeah, I'll send you an email. Cheers now.
Okay. Cheers, bro. See you.